Hi everyone, welcome and good morning. I'm pleased to welcome you to the final conference of the 3-year-long Horizon 2020 project Turnkey Retrofit, organized in collaboration with the PadovaFIT project on the topic of scaling up renovations in Europe, the role of one-stop shops in reaching a fully decarbonized building stock. So I'm Margot Barrett, Communications Manager at the Buildings Performance Institute Europe. And I'm very happy to welcome you today. Before we get started, I'd like to say a few instructions on how to attend this conference. So I will ask you to please stay muted throughout the event. You'll have the possibility to submit questions and comments throughout the event via the Q&A box. And we will address them during the Q&A session and the panel discussion at the end of the event. Today's presentation is being recorded and will be provided within 48 hours along with the slide deck. It will be provided in a follow-up email and on the Turnkey Retrofit website. You'll be able to share your feedback on this event in a follow-up survey. So please keep an eye on your inbox. I will just quickly run through the agenda before we dive into the topic. So we'll have different sessions. We'll have first a keynote speech by Thibaut Roy from DG&R from the European Commission. Then we'll have a presentation by Louise White from the European Investment Bank. And then the first session will be really dedicated to the Turnkey Retrofit project with different presentations. I'm not going to go right now into details, but you have, I'll of course be presenting them afterwards. And then we'll have the second session which will be dedicated to successful initiatives. So what can we learn from them? So we'll have a presentation by the PadovaFIT project, by the Paris Climate Agency, and by the H2020 Remodel project. And then the third session will be a panel discussion with all the speakers moderated by my colleague at the PadovaFIT project. So I would like to now give the floor to Thibaut Roy, who is from the European Commission's Directorate General for Energy. Thibaut, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Margot, and good morning to everyone. I hope you're all ready for this particularly relevant and timely event on scaling up renovation in Europe. And thank you to the Turnkey Retrofit and PadovaFIT expanded project teams for inviting the European Commission to kickstart it. So first, allow me to set the scene, and I will begin with the challenges. At EU level, we only have 8 years left to meet our 2030 objectives of reducing our GHG emissions by 55% by 2030. Buildings account for 40% of energy consumed and about 1/3 of energy-related greenhouse gas emissions in the EU. So without full contribution from our building stock, we won't be able to meet our 2030 targets. And our analysis at the Commission is that buildings' GHG emissions should be slashed by 60% and their energy consumption cut by 14% by 2030. But 2030 is obviously not the end of the story. Buildings are there to stay, and therefore, in line with the EU's commitments, and also as reflected in the event's title, our buildings should also be on a trajectory toward net zero emissions by 2050, meaning less than 30 years away. For those reasons, the Commission has adopted in October 2020 the Renovation Wave strategy. And the strategy sets a goal of doubling the rate of renovation, which is currently lingering around 1%, and to renovate 35 million building units by 2030. It also includes an action plan with 23 deliverables. And the first of the deliverables is to revise the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, so the Epbd, and to introduce minimum energy performance standards, also called MEPS, for all types of buildings. Therefore, in December, we have published our Epbd proposal, and so I consider it still pretty fresh from the oven. Among others, and building on the renovation wave, the proposal includes the MEPS I've just mentioned, but also an obligation for member states to develop building renovation passports, a definition of what deep renovation is, including a stage deep renovation, and higher ambitions on energy performance certificates, or EPCs. And it is now for the European Parliament and member states to discuss and adopt a legislation that works best for all citizens. The Epbd revision is one of the initiatives of the Fit for 55 package, meaning, as you're well aware, the package to deliver on the European Green Deal's objective of reaching the minus 55% GHG emissions. And as you know, probably the Epbd complements the proposals for the revision of the Energy Efficiency Directive, or EED, the extension of the Emission Trading Scheme, or ETS, to buildings, and the review, amongst others, of the Renewable Energy Directive, the RED, which were published in the Fit for 55 July package of last summer. Now, the renovation wave focused specifically on public buildings and the fight against energy poverty. In this slide, as an example of the interlinkages, the EED proposal includes provisions for the exemplary role of public bodies, with the public building stock to be renovated by 3% every year. The EED proposal therefore has synergies with the Epbd proposal on MEPS, which require all buildings owned by public bodies to achieve at least EPC class F by 2027 and class E as of 2030. Similarly, on those complementarities, the ETS extension targets mostly economic barriers to renovation, while the Epbd proposal addresses in particular persistent non-market barriers, such as split incentives that you know very well. Those are just two illustrations, and we will continue our efforts to implement the Renovation Wave Action Plan later on this year and also in 2023, focusing, for example, on the review of the state aid framework, in particular this year, the General Block Exemption Regulation, or GBER, and the inclusion of life cycle carbon emission metrics. Now, we know that the policies that work best are those setting the objectives and the enabling framework. And we all know the barriers to renovation and those preventing us from having top performing buildings. So I won't go too far into the typology of those barriers, since you know them very well. Just in short, the 5 categories that we have identified in our Epbd impact assessment are first, the economic and financial barriers, from the high upfront costs and affordability of renovation and the issue of split incentives. Secondly, the behavioral barriers related, for example, to the hassle or perceived hassle of renovations. Third, the information barriers associated with the lack of information on the building's performance, the benefits of renovation, or on available funding. The fourth one that we have identified are administrative barriers related, for instance, to insufficient technical expertise or capacities among authorities, or lengthy permitting procedures. And finally, the technical barriers, which could be related, for example, to a shortage of qualified workers. And this is where one-stop shops come into play, because we believe that one-stop shops can deliver on all those barriers. And therefore, in our Epbd proposal, we link the new MEPS, the minimum energy performance standards, with the obligation for member states to provide technical assistance, including through one-stop shops. In the same vein, the proposal lays down that member states will have to ensure the establishment of technical assistance facilities, including through one-stop shops. And to tap into one-stop shops' full potential, we also made clear that they should target all actors involved in buildings renovation. So meaning not only building owners, but also administrative, financial, and economic actors, including small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. And in conjunction with our policy work, we are, as Commission, also directly encouraging energy efficiency projects, in particular through our partnership with the European Investment Bank on ELENA, so the European Local Energy Assistance, which was also recognized as a key component of the renovation wave. Now, one-stop shop does not mean one size fits all, or that one recipe could work everywhere. In one region, the main concern may be that owner-occupiers have a low disposable or discretionary income and are therefore not able to finance the upfront cost of renovation. And there, the renovation office may provide grants, soft loans, or energy contracting options. In another region, it may be that due to ownership structures or dense habitats, the issues are rather technical and legal than financial. And there, the renovation office may develop capacities to support innovative business models and advisory services to the co-owners or to local officials. Against this background, we as Commission cannot be too prescriptive as to the exact geographical scope, so national, regional, local, city level, for example, or the missions of one-stop shops. We still need to gather information on success stories and best practices, the reasons for those, and whether they can be replicated throughout the EU. And it is why initiatives such as the Turnkey Retrofit and the PadovaFIT expanded are so valuable. You have endeavored to scale up integrated home renovation services. And so with the Turnkey Retrofit, thanks also to Horizon 2020 financing, you have been building on two initiatives, Mon Carnet, now Hero, and Operin, and adding new functionalities to it, leading to the solution for renovation offer. With PadovaFIT expanded, you have been further elaborating on partnerships between cities and concrete experience gained in Padova, which started, I believe, almost 9 years ago already, and targeting at the beginning condominiums, and now expanding it to all private residential buildings. With those projects, you have been building up knowledge, thanks to reports and case studies, which will inspire new initiatives throughout Europe. This morning's event is therefore particularly useful to take stock and learn from successful and possibly less successful projects. So I will stop here. I will just wish you 3 inspiring and fruitful sessions. And I now hand over to Louise. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Thibaut, for this great overview of the European policy context surrounding one-stop shop and for giving a presentation already about the Turnkey Retrofit and the PadovaFIT project. I'll welcome Louise. Louise is Senior Technical Manager at the European Investment Bank. She will introduce us to the ELENA program. Louise, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, my name is Louise White, and I'm coordinating the ELENA program at the European Investment Bank. So today, I'd just like to give you a short overview of what ELENA is, what it can do, and how it could link into the one-stop shop concept model, which you're all here to speak about today. So you can go to the next slide, please. So what is Elena? Well, it was a facility set up over 12 years ago, and it's a joint facility between the European Investment Bank and the European Commission. So essentially, the European Investment Bank is managing this facility on behalf of the Commission. And what it does is it gives grants for the preparation of energy efficiency investment programs. So to date, it has about 120 projects right across the EU, and over 225 million euros of grant has been given that is supporting over 7.4 billion euros of investment on the ground. So that's just to give you a snapshot of what Elena actually is. You can go to the next slide, please. The types of investment programs are dictated by 3 different budget envelopes. So I think the first 2 are more relevant to the discussion today, particularly the second one here. So we have a sustainable energy envelope, and that's essentially energy efficiency investments in all types of buildings, as well as integrated renewable energy in buildings. And by that, I mean standalone renewables aren't something that Elena supports, but renewables that are integrated into the building, which is normally PV related, are part of what can be supported. This also includes street lighting and district heating, but I think of most relevant today is the second box here, because there's also an envelope that's dedicated exclusively to the residential sector, and this is where you see a lot of one-stop shops operating. So in this envelope, if you have a project that's fully made up of one-off housing, multifamily apartment blocks, and anything that can be classified as a residential building, you fit into this one here. And there are certain rules around each of the envelopes, and that's why that matters. And then finally, there's also a transport module. So these are the types of investments that Elena can help prepare. Go to the next slide, please. So who's eligible? Well, essentially any public or private party is eligible to apply for Elena. So in the public sector, you have national, regional and local bodies. You also can have some financial institutions that can have a public sector focus. But the private sector is also eligible to apply for Elena, and this can be made up of energy agencies, housing associations, again, banks and financial intermediaries. But more importantly for today, we also have one-stop shops that are entities that can apply in their own right for Elena support. And what Elena can do is it gives you a grant to hire staff or sorry, to dedicate staff or hire experts to do a range of activities that you would need to do to help prepare your investments. So there's some examples given here, but typically for the one-stop shop, what you would be financing would be the energy audits for the buildings themselves. Some other technical studies, some legal advice, some financial modeling. A lot of work goes into the project management, particularly for energy efficiency in buildings, because one of the common barriers is this aggregation. So you have a big project management role as well. So all of these types of activities are what Elena finances. And a lot of the times we see that if there is no in-house knowledge, what's very helpful is to use some of the staff that are there, but to combine that with some short-term experts that can bring in that technical or legal or financial advice that's missing to help push the project forward. Next slide, please. So just some general rules for Elena. Typically, we're looking at a minimum investment of about 30 million euro. So that generally links into about a grant of between 1.5 to 2 million euro that's given out, supporting a minimum investment of 30. And when you're making your application, what you do is you submit your full range of costs, and you would then have some skin in the game by putting up 10% of those costs, but Elena will finance the other 90%. So it's a joint effort, but the grant will cover the majority of your costs. There are no calls, so it's basically first come, first served. And how it works in practice is you would just send in a short overview of what your projects, and we would make sure that it would tick all the main eligibility criteria. We can do that relatively quickly, and then you would move into the full application stage, and someone from the Elena team would then work with you, and you would then be able to work with them throughout the process until your application was ready to go to the commission. I'm sorry, I've lost my slides. I hope you can still hear me. I can just see a blank screen, but I can continue on. So because this grant is given with the objective of having an investment within a 3 to 4 year period, you do have to bear in mind that you have to be at a certain level of maturity to apply for ELENA. Now, we would go through all of this with you, and we would know quite quickly whether you were at that stage or not. But just to make the point that ELENA is a grant program that has a target of having end investments at the end of the 3 or 4 year period. So this is also something to keep in mind. But I think in general, the one-stop shop model is quite suitable for Elena, because if you already have a model there, you generally have a targeted pipeline as well. And what Elena can do is give you that extra capacity to help realize those investments. So you can go to the next slide. I can't see which one you're on, but I presume if you're on the one with leverage factor, that's good. The leverage factor simply means that for every €1 million of grant you get, there is a requirement to have a certain level of investment at the end of the period. So for those envelopes that I was talking about earlier, in the energy envelope, and this would be if you had a mixture of different investments, so non-residential, residential buildings, street lighting. If you had a bit of a full package, for every €1 million of grant, you have to have €20 million of investment at the end. So that's all this slide here is showing, if you can see it. The total target of investments divided by your TA grant has to add up to 20. And what happens in practice is that you would get the grant in stages. So throughout the process, there's a very close monitoring period, or very close monitoring process. And you would get the grant, 40% of the grant when you sign the Elena contract. You'd get another 30% halfway through, and you get another 30% at the end. So generally, it's very closely, there's a lot of communication and coordination so that this leverage factor is always met. Then for the residential envelope, that's if you have a portfolio that's 100% of residential buildings, your leverage factor is reduced to 10. So that means for every €1 million of investment, you have to have 10 million euros of investment at the end. So this is another incentive to try to encourage renovations in the residential sector. So moving, just to give you, next slide, please. So just to give you an example of maybe a practical current project that has both EIB financing and Elena. So EIB is also obviously a bank, so there's a range of products that it has to support energy and efficiency type investments. And for energy efficiency, the most common one is through some type of intermediated structure. So the bank would lend to a local or regional financial institution, and that financial institution would then on lend to smaller projects in that particular area. To make the point, Elena is not linked to having an EIB loan, but of course we have some examples where both are happening. So one current one is with the province of Limburg. So the EIB is lending into a province fund that's on lending to homeowners that are that are installing PV and doing energy efficiency renovations in their home. And they also applied for an ELENA grant at the same time. And the ELENA grant was then has a focus of trying to increase the energy efficiency component of those loans. So while a person is thinking of doing some renovations in their home or some PV installations, using that opportunity to give them a home energy assessment and to show them the benefits of energy efficiency in their home. And then the loan is given through the same body. So it has all those components of that one-stop shop model where the homeowner just has to go to the one place and all of the financial and technical advice can be received from that. If you just go to the next slide, please. Just to give you the link to the ELENA page, because there are quite a number of one-stop shop type programs that are being supported with ELENA. As the Commission just said, there's not a one type fits all. So some are through financial institutions where you have banks giving out loans and they want to also be able to give that technical advice to homeowners. And so they've applied for ELENA to get that technical advice. We then also have some one-stop shop models that are already set up. And there was one that finished in Ireland last year in Tipperary Energy Agency. And there was also been some one-stop shops in France. But if you go on the website, you'll be able to see all of the different types of projects that ELENA is supporting, and you'll be able to then get an overview of all of the projects that you're interested in, and there's always a contact address on that after the overview, so you can also contact those projects directly. Just to finish up on the final slide, I would just encourage you to if you have any projects that you think are worth ELENA support, you can always just contact us on the mailbox and someone will come back to you. And if you have a project of interest, we would then set up a phone call and start the process. So today it was really just to give you an overview of what ELENA is, make you aware that it's there, and please don't hesitate to contact the email address, and you can also get more information on the web page. So I will leave it at that and wish you a good conference.
Thank you, Louise. I think that was a great introduction to the topic today, and it's good to see that the ELENA programs also supports the development of one-stop shop in Europe. I would like to jump right now into the first session. We're slightly behind schedule, but it should be fine. Today for this session, we'll be welcoming 4 different speakers from the Turnkey Retrofit project. So the people who have really been involved into developing the project and the service. So we have Madeleine Devy from the Centre Scientifique et Technique du Bâtiment, CSTB, Rachel Demary from R2M Solution, and Miriam Garcia-Master from the Spanish Association for Renovation. I can't pronounce that name, sorry. And then we have Joanna Verghese from the Irish Green Building Council. I will hand over to Madeleine, the first speaker, who will give us some insights on the Turnkey Retrofit project and the Solutions for Renovation platform. Madeleine, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Margot. Can you hear me well? Okay.
There's a bit of echo.
Okay. Yeah, that's my fault. Sorry. Okay. Is it okay?
Yeah, much better, thanks. I'll just...
Okay. Perfect. So, good morning, everyone. I'm pleased today to present you Turnkey Retrofit project. I will just share my screen now. If I may, sorry. I don't find where to share my screen. Yeah, sure, it's okay. Okay, yeah, be right, yeah. So Turnkey Retrofit project was collaboration of 9 partners of different European countries like Ireland, Belgium, France, and Spain. And I go direct to the point. So the project is to develop a one-stop shop platform through the integration and enrichment of existing services and business model. And the goal is to improve the renovation process for the owners. So the main deliverable of this project was to create a service and a platform like an integrated the renovation service with a turnkey solution for owners. So at the end, we we present you the platform. It's present like this. I will show some demonstration at the end of my presentation, but first I explain a bit how we built this. So it's important to see that in this project, the idea is to have a numeric platform which is linked to a real service with real renovation advisors, I will say. So the owner is going to a platform, getting some information about his building and his how he can get, how much he can get with renovation. But at the end, the idea is to join an advisor and to see, oh yes, you want to plan some renovations, so let's see what we can do. So in each country, we are linked to a specific service. So in Spain, it's Reform ANER. In Ireland, it's Renovation Hub.eu, which is in development right now. And in France, it's Hero.fr, which is owned by EP, one of the partners of the project. So the platform we built is, the journey of the owner is thought through different bricks. So there are a lot of information, toolbox for renovation in multifamily buildings, directories, and links to official websites. But we spent a lot of time in this project to build interactive tools to help the owner to feel that the service is adapted to his situation. So we built different bricks like punch jack, roadmap, smart jack, and cost of works. I will present you very quickly those things just to show what we did, and afterward, if you have a question, we can speak more about it. So I will switch.
Madeleine, just a quick, is it possible to have your slides in full screen? Because it seems like they're not fully.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, right now I'm going to this. Can you see in?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So this is the, I will just do like this. You can have a better view. So this is the platform. You have here some information about the renovation. Here you can see there are 3 versions. So as we saw that each country has specific needs, specific situation, more single houses or more multifamily buildings, and so we built 3 very similar versions, but a bit different to adapt to those specifications. So I will show you here the Irish one. To begin, the user say if he's in a single house or a multifamily building, and then different options are presented to him. So he can, depending on how far he is in the process of renovation, if he has no ID or if he has already some IDs, he wants to know more each renovation action that he has to do, and then if he wants to see really what he can improve in his everyday life with this renovation, and at the end, yeah, to go directly to have a retrofit assessment and to call professionals. So those different steps of maturity, I would say, in the process correspond to different bricks that we built. First, if you have no idea, we built something like very simple, which is the bench jack. The idea is to show the user that maybe he has needs or problems in his house that the renovation can help to solve. So yeah, there are pictures to show the user, yeah, maybe you have problems, maybe you feel cold, and so and so. And at the end, I will just right. So at the end, I'm just a bit backed up. So yeah, at the end you have a result screen, which is showing, here it's the blank, but if you answered all the questions, you have potentials who are fields to say, yeah, about energy savings and different comfort, what you can have for improvement with a renovation. You have also a list of renovation actions that you can do, and then you go to different other websites or other bricks, because you have the first steps done. I have the same problem here. I will just so if you go, if you are a bit more mature, and so you know that you want renovation, you have another brick, which is the roadmap. So this, yeah, this tool is very adapted to the user. So we ask some questions to the user to know a bit more about his house and to have advices very adapted to his situation. And then the result is 3 menu of renovation with different actions, and then also the performance that he can reach with this renovations. We have also information about the cost, about the grants, and etc. And also what the renovation can bring in terms of energy savings, about environmental impact, about comfort, etc. And yeah, there is also a personalized page, which you can say, okay, I can do part of the renovation actions now, but I want to do other a bit later. So I plan my renovation like this. I see what each step can help me to improve in terms of energy, and yeah, there are also the same information than before. And there are also some alerts about what we can say as building experts. I would say that, for example, if you do, if I, for example, do the renovation of the roof after the renovation of the wall, during those years, we can have damp problems, and so that's also a way to help the user to plan his renovation actions. So yeah, I go very quick to this because I want to present you also the Hero platform, which is the platform, the inspiration, I would say, for solution for renovation. Sorry, it's in French, so I will describe you. There are a lot of tools in this platform from EP. And I will show you now the cost of works. So the idea is to have a very precise idea of how much the renovation action can cost. So for example, if I want to insulate my wall by outside, and I have very specific questions to estimate precisely the costs. And then at the end, the tool is giving me some estimations, and you can see also some steps in the costs. So that's an overview of everything you can find in Solution for Renovation. So please feel free to go to solutionsforrenovation.eu and also to Turnkey Retrofit.eu to know more about our work. Yeah, I will. No, sorry. I will leave the floor, Margot.
Yes, thanks, Madeleine. I'll just share my screen again. We'll now hand over to Rachel. Rachel, who's been really working on the side of the development of business models. So she will give us sort of other view of business models for one-stop shop, and in particular the Turnkey Retrofit one. So sorry, I'm not on the right slides. I will.
Thank you, Margot, and hello everybody. So indeed, I prepared some slides regarding our business model work. If you want me to share the slides on my screen, no, it's okay. Perfect.
Sorry, yeah, I'm sharing already, so it's fine.
Okay, so thank you very much. As already explained in the introduction, the value proposition of one-stop shop. Okay, I'll let you. Okay, so the value proposition of one-stop shop is to offer a turnkey solution to the clients with better communication and knowledge sharing, and the potential to minimize the risk or error in the process. And in the other slide, we will see the solution for renovation implementation context. As presented by Madeleine, we have developed in the Turnkey Retrofit Project different bricks, different tools. And those tools have been implemented in the local context by different kind of actors. So in France, it was with EP. This is a private partner that was already running a one-stop shop before the beginning of the project. In Spain, it's with a national public association who, before the beginning of Turnkey Retrofit Project, was already running renovation services, but these services was not digitalized yet. And in Ireland, we work with a national association that for the moment does not offer a renovation services. So that's it for the renovation context that will help us to understand the kind of business model that was developed in each country. So in the next slide, we see that at the beginning of the Turnkey Retrofit project, we built this kind of mapping of existing one-stop shop regarding the different actors that are involved, that are leading this kind of one-stop shop. And we see that we have different kind of one-stop shop. It could be industry driver, when manufacturer and installer aim to extend their businesses. It could be consultant driver or energy services company driven, local government public driven, or cooperative type driven. And we see that with my previous slides, that in France, Israel, and Ireland, it's based on consultant and independent organised driven, whereas in Spain, as it's a public association, it's more public driven. So it's kind of to map the actor linked to this project. On the next slide, we will see the revenue stream. Yes, the revenue stream in the 3 different countries. So in France, homeowners and craftsmen register for free on the Hero platform. And then the money is made with a brokerage of white certificate. So, but in Spain, the access to the platform is free from the homeowners, but they could pay some additional services. And to the craftsman, a member fee is asked, and also a percentage of the turnovers they realizing the work done on the platform. And also there is some advertising that is made on the platform to allow some business stream. And in Ireland, they work with a freemium model, and they connect homeowners to other one-stop shop hosted on the central hub. So that's for the revenue stream of the Turnkey Retrofit experiment. On the next slide, yeah, we have this kind of type of one-stop shop according to the activities they provide. It's the European project Innovate who creates this table. So the first model is the facilitation model, where the one-stop shop raise awareness, provide general information, and first orientation of advices. And it's the case for the Ireland platform. The second model is a coordination model. So it coordinates the existing market actors and make sure that all one-stop shop services are offered to homeowners. So it's the case of the Spain model and French model. The point to note is that they do not take responsibility for the renovation work and yeah, for the renovation work. It's not the case of the two other one models, the all-inclusive model and the ESCO model. Is the model in where they bear responsibility for the result of the renovation work and the overall customer journey. So yeah, that with this slide we have seen the activities of the business model of the one-stop shop in Turnkey Retrofit. In the next slide, we see the global view of this business model, of this kind of business model type. So it could be named as a rocket model platform or also as a multi-sided platform. So in this kind of business model, there are two sides. One side, the customer. So here it's the homeowner or the multi-family building. And the other side that are producers, contractors that will deliver the work. So both sides need to be present on the platform for the platform to be successful. And the first step is to attract them on the platform to reach this critical mass and to have enough user of each side. On the other side, we will see that the next step is to match both kind of actor. And then after having this match, to connect them, to exchange information, or also some payment transaction could be made on the platform. And the next step could be to optimize the relationship between those actors. It could be in a second stage of the development of this kind of rocket model platform. So that's it for the very generic view of a business model that we develop in Turnkey Retrofit. We have some key feedbacks and key learning that we learned during the development of the project. The important point is to create a partnership with local entity. That means that for us to develop Turnkey Retrofit in each country, we have to find local partners and create a good relationship with them. But also for each one-stop shops, they need to have good relation with the contractors, and they also need to have local representatives to be able to answer on the phone some question. A fully digitalized process is not the best as we think. It's better to also have somebody on the phone who can answer some questions. On the next slides, we will see our next findings is we need to find a way to impulse the business. And for example, in France, it is with white certificates, and in Spain with public incentives. So really, it's find a way to to impulse our business with this kind of leverage. On the next slide, we see that it's very important to know the cost to attract the customer. As I already said, it's important to have both sides on the platform. And really the key point here, when you have finished to develop the informatic part, the digitalized part of your platform, it's to communicate and to market your platform. And you have to create a coherent and powerful communication campaign to reach the fit user with organic referencing, Google Ads, or conventional media. And the last slide, the next slide. It's just a remark that this kind of platform need at least 5 to 8 years to include the existing market gaps. Means that it makes a long time to market and to have a business model financially viable and self-sufficient. So that's for my quick presentation on the business model aspect of Turnkey Retrofit Project. If you have any question, feel free to ask me in the chat or later in the Q&A sessions. Thank you very much. And I leave the floor to Margot.
Yes, thanks, Rachel. Yes, as you said, just feel free to ask questions in the Q&A and we'll collect those questions later on. I would like now to welcome Miriam and Joanna, who have been really working on replicating the service in Spain and Ireland. So they will walk you through how was the process basically. So Miriam, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me properly? Great. Yes, a small overview for the Spanish context. The Spanish agenda have the objective to reach 3% of total renovation per year. So now it's lower than 1%. So will be a great increasement. And the case is more than 80% of building stock must be renovated in the next 3 years because of following the law. And a lot of money is coming from Europe, so it's a real opportunity just to improve this market. Just in the project, Spain is the paradigm of multifamily model for drilling because it's around 80% is a lot, especially in big cities and medium cities. We have an issue also, the homeowners in the community of neighborhoods is a key role. The manager of the building in this kind of communities is very important, so is the driver to make things happen. And we have a complex regulation because the grants are national, and most of them are managing regionally. So the next. Just a small points. ANER this year is the 10th anniversary of ANER. Reform ANER has only 6 years old, and the main characteristic of ANER is the National Association for Reforestation Companies, and we have a certificate for this company that is very recognized by the government and the whole market. And Reform ANER is the platform. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you about the context in Ireland. Our climate action plan has a very ambitious target for 500,000 homes to be retrofitted by 2030. And a total of 18,400 home retrofits were completed in 2020. However, only 4,000 were to a B2 standard. And there are many types of one-stop shops already existing in Ireland, and they originate and are led in different different ways. So some are contractor-led, material supplier-led, engineer-led partnerships between financial institutions, energy companies, and contractors or engineers. And a core element of the National Retrofit Plan in Ireland is the development of a network of registered one-stop shops. And they should offer homeowners all the services required for a complete home energy upgrade. Next slide, please. So part of the context of what we did as well is that we are the Irish Green Building Council. It's a membership organization, not for profit, and we work with organizations and businesses from the entire value chain of the construction and building sector to transition to a sustainable built environment. Next slide, yeah.
So the main objectives in Spain for ANER and Reforma ANER is to consolidate and strengthen the ecosystem, being the main platform in Spain, and also we are trying to reach Portugal, support the net of stakeholders, to getting a full service, all include with all steps of the roadmap. And getting an easy and reliable experience for homeowners and for building managers, who is the user-centered design strategy we are following. So from an initial ecosystem where Reforma ANER was a B2B market just to specialized people, including companies, specialized professional manufacturers and technology, and also insurance and finance companies from the very beginning. They are always collaborating with us. This project open to, with the Turnkey Retrofit project, we get a new point of view, including homeowner and building manager, that they had been in the ecosystem but not in the platform. They have now their own profile, and the platform is focused for them. And also we have the B2G collaboration because all the companies in ANER getting agente rehabilitador, is a renovation agent, just for the dissemination and help people to understand how to afford this kind of process. So we are collaborating with the national government and with the local one in Madrid in different green offices that have been developed along this year. Next.
And the main objectives for us was, the main objective of the Turnkey Retrofit project is a reliable and easier customer journey. And then the objective of IGBC within that is to create a platform that is a public good resource and targets the homeowner, which is a departure from our usual target audience. We wanted to address the challenges for the homeowner in our climate action plan, which are lack of awareness of what retrofit is and the multi-benefits it delivers, lack of familiarity with certain technologies like heat pumps, affordability and the high upfront cost of works, hassle throughout the retrofit experience from the grant application phase right through to the delivery of works, and customers are overwhelmed by the complexity and numbers of decisions involved. Next slide.
So the customer journey looks like this is not complex, but of course, our marketing, as Rachel explained in the business model, is very important on site. Of course, dissemination comes also from these green offices, so it's a mix between on and off. But in the on-site journey today is online. You can go through the diagnosis. Roadmap is work in progress, but we haven't it. When we have to adapt and include some things that are not by the date today, so will be a couple of 3 months. By the day today, you have the possibility to have a profile, even you are a homeowner or the manager of the building. We think it's the same profile. And also there are a specific profile for contractors and professionals, included in the platform certificate by ANER. Also, we open to new attendants, new players on the States. So we are going through the way of certificate them. Then it's so simple because the user, the homeowner, have a form to get a briefing, because we think having the equal briefing for all attendants is important, just to get quotation aligned. In this briefing, they have a technical advisor. They should be physical, should be online, by phone or any place. At the same time, they are working on the briefing. They go through the grants coming, as I say, a lot of money, and the financing companies, because grants never cover the full needs of money. So we work together, both of them. The user get 3 different quotations, only 3. It's not a mass, so it's easy. And then choose one, the project execution begins. And we have a data collection doc where you have all information about grants, financing, and every single certificate or information about the project. So the whole profiles have the same database. So it's easy to certificate everything that happens along the project and to get information in real time, because you have all of them in the platform. So in the model, the payment is made between partners, between the homeowner and the company, but ANER get responsibility to follow up the process and the real satisfaction because of the certification. So the team is very focused on going all through. A new tool we want to develop next month is satisfaction and recommendation tool. So it's not today, but it's work in progress. Sorry, one more question. And contractor and professional have their own profile, and then they can see the list of works they are involved on. And in each project, they have the full information for this data and docs, so it's easy to manage. They have different views and different access to the platform, but always with the same data collection. It's okay.
Okay, so for Ireland and IGBC, we decided the best way we could serve homeowners and our IGBC members is to get the homeowner renovation ready, make the process more transparent, qualify why one option may be better, let people try out the digital tools in their own time, and provide a good user experience, and nudge the homeowner to connect to a renovation advisor and a home retrofit assessment. Next slide, please. Okay, so a very sort of simple customer journey. It starts with the marketing on the top and branding, getting people to associate trust, retrofit, healthy people and homes with Renovation Hub. The customer finds their way to Renovation Hub, which is the name of our platform, and it could be through Solutions for Renovations. There they get all the information they need in a way that's not too technical, neither is it too simple. And then they book an assessment with a renovation advisor through a booking system. And in the future, there is potential to digitally aggregate the projects once there's information on retrofit proposals and location. And then customers can rate the service or write a review, and that goes back into marketing. Next slide, please. So this slide shows the Renovation Hub homepage, where the tools can be found in the menu bar on the top under Get Started. And next slide. With the 10-question quiz and the roadmap tool. Next slide, please.
So about the business model, we choose in the possibility of business model that Rachel talked before. We have the second coordination model a little deeper than France made, because ANER is more involved in the whole journey, because it's always in contact with the client and with the company. So it's a freemium for homeowners and building of the manager, a constructor and professional pay a quote, and we also have income from ads from stakeholders. And the value proposition is one-stop shop with full process guidance, open to everyone in the market, just to get this main, the initial advice or the dissemination about the need of the process in terms of energy efficiency and healthy. we look on full traceability and transparency because this information altogether for all agents on the stage, the document repository would be very important. These personalized profiles to make the process simpler. We also manage grants and financing together, so it's easy to the owners of the building that are a lot of people take decision easy in terms of how money I have to pay every month. That is the main decision that the building or the manager need to make people involved and go through the process. We also give personal advice end to end. The homeowner at the building of the manager has to reach transparency and trust. The homeowner have the total guarantee of this best professional and company certificate by NR, and constructor and professional also have new opportunities just to get fittest project and increase their business. So, and the last point is a team of professionals with more than 20 years or experience that guarantee that the full process will be a success. It's okay.
Okay, so for the Irish context, features of the business model is that it's a multi-sided one for both the renovation advisor and the customer. It's a freemium model, so information and tools are free. It's a public good resource, and we are looking for partners interested in collaborating with us to create an agnostic platform. In terms of one-stop shops, it follows the facilitation model, raising awareness on energy renovation benefits and providing general information and first advice at the orientation stage. And alternately, another business model we could have is that we actually take the opportunity to license the digital tools. Next slide.
So next steps, these are no close dates. Is there an estimation? The project is finished the 28th. We hope we have the last tools roadmap online or work in progress. Then we open an optimization process because we want to include in this tool finance company, probably with the Banco Santander, who put the round tool just to exactly know the total amount, just the money you pay per month, because we say it's a great tool to improve. People say, okay, come on, 100 euros per month I can afford, so don't tell me anything more, because in the buildings, in the multifamily homeowners, this is a complex process, as I say. Then when everything is fixed, we want to run the promotion because most of the money in Spain with grants will be on the market probably in the spring, summer. So we want to take advantage of the opportunity. Also at the same time, if this is spring, summer, new green offices will be opened. We now have a couple with some of them will be on the stage, so we hope we'll be there. And we are closing a lot of agreements with government association. And in all this process, we are looking for an investor round because we get a lot of money just to get all these goals. So money support is important. Johanna.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so our next steps, we have a booking system ready to go on the top left there that connects the customer with a renovation advisor. The next step is to draw up a renovation advisor list. And in 2020, IGBC already trialed a prototype building renovation passport with SEAI, and we'd like to move that forward. And then once you have the passport, you have the renovation advisor list and the homeowner who wants to do something. It should be possible to aggregate projects digitally into bundles. And then the next slide, please. Another plan is to create a national dashboard with the latest information on the number of retrofits and retrofit assessments happening all over the country. And perhaps this could be expanded to an EU-wide, dashboard. if we created a system that was easier for people to use and operate, would that increase the number of retrofits? That's a question we ask ourselves. Next slide.
So the main lesson learned is first is the homeowner's point of view. Barriers and fears are quite similar in each country. It's not the south of Spain, it's all around. Multifamily is always a longer and complex process. In Spain, we have no white certificate by the day to day. The passport of the building and the book of the building is work in progress. So all these issues can change the state in next months. So we try to adapt. The lobby is intense from the sector. The sectorial lobby is intense in this way because we think white certificate could be a great improvement just to the objective goals for energy renovation, and also social, political, legal, and economics context trigger accelerate to get a process very run really in the next 2-3 years. So go next. Special about platforms. Of course, digital platform looks like a great opportunity to connect the ecosystem, all of them, homeowners, of course, and after the whole crisis, digitalization runs deeper, so everyone can use it. It's very important mobile feed because some tools are not by the day to day, we're work in progress. But also personal advice, have a great team is a big point because it's a complex process. So both tools working together is a guarantee of success. Another point is having trust professional and create transparency. It goes through certificate professional. Should be found a way of getting this trust. We are lucky we have it, so we ensure it runs, and be sure you have enough resources for development, promotion, and dissemination, because all of them is the goal triangle just to get success in this kind of smart startups. And of course, create a strong network and very collaborative. From the very beginning, the local implementation group was great for Spain, and they improve and support the project. And so it should be all players on the stage: homeowner, professional, contractor, association, government, energy companies, and everything is very important just to get this all together project, because aggregation now these last weeks has been a key point also in Spain, because regional and national government is focusing money in big areas of cities in city renovation. So the other point is this is a live process, especially in Spain, it's changing every moment. So we have to be agile, innovative and creative to get advantage of all this environment. That's it. Joanna.
Okay, so lessons learned. What we have learned is that there must be one dedicated place where retrofit information is easy to find. Customers can understand what to do next and why one pathway is better than another. And then in terms of networks, Turnkey Retrofit kicked off with local implementation groups, and we've grown that to many wonderful contributors who give their support generously, and hopefully they'll be helping us to land this. Then definitely design for mobile from the beginning, because 60 to 70% of people in the world use their mobile phone for retail and education instead of laptop or tablet. So design for the mobile from the get-go. And then we found that in our interviews with people, the feedback they gave us that they would really like to see case studies and videos of all types of houses, and interviews with people who have already done retrofit on the platform. And marketing is a big thing. How do we figure out how to create hooks for retrofit? So it's something that people want, like their HD TVs or new cars, holidays, and not something they feel they should do. Thank you.
Anything you need, you have the contact on the screen. Of course.
Thanks both. We didn't get any questions so far, but I would like to remind you again that you can ask questions in the Q&A. Since we're running a bit behind, I would suggest we take a quick 5-minute break so we can come back, let's say at 20, if that's okay for everyone. And we'll come back with the second session with the other one-stop shops initiatives. So I invite you to stretch your legs, have a cup of coffee, and we'll come back at 20 past. Thanks. right. I hope everybody managed to stretch their legs, have a coffee, and take a breath. We'll now move to the second session of this conference, which is about successful initiatives. What can we learn from them? So on this panel, we have 4 different speakers who will be presenting 3 different initiatives. We'll have, after this session, we'll have a whole panel discussion of about 45 minutes. So you'll have time to also send your questions and we'll answer during the panel. So we have first Anna Maria Baghini from Bocconi University, who's working on the PadovaFIT expanded project, which aims at creating and piloting a one-stop shop dedicated to home renovation services in the city of Padova, and to expand the process to the city of Timisoara in Romania and to the cities of Smolyan and Vidin in Bulgaria. And next we will have Karin Bidar from Paris Climate Agency, who will present levers and challenges to scale up the renovation of condominiums in Paris with the experience of the Paris Climate Agency. And then we'll have Maria Saria Di Maggio and Ana Sanchez-Huertas, who are both working for the H2020 project Remodel, which aim is to create a EU-wide retrofit market activation framework in the residential building sector, supported by digital and physical so-called renovation hubs at the member state and EU level. I won't speak more anymore, and I will let them talk. So I invite first Anna Maria to present the case of PadovaFIT. So Anna Maria, the floor is yours. Thanks.
Thanks. I see that you share your screen. Can I share mine?
Yes.
So I can command better my presentation?
Of course, yeah.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me well?
Yes, perfectly well, thanks.
Now I share full screen. Okay, can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can, thanks.
Perfect. Good morning, everyone. I'm Anna Maria Baghini from Green Research Center in Bocconi University. As I already presented, we are a partner of PadovaFIT Expanded, is an European Horizon 2020 project aimed to create and pilot one-stop shops in 4 pilot areas. The first one-stop shop will be launched at the end of project this year in Padova area. Bocconi is responsible of providing all preliminary analysis on target area conditions like stakeholders, regulatory framework, market maturity, and so on, and to develop the business model and later the business plan and the feasibility study. I heard the other presentation provided today, and they are similar to our outcome, so I don't want to buy too much time over this slide. However, to develop a suitable business model, we go to analyze different initiatives in Europe. We select only European one-stop shop initiatives running and in Europe because of 2 reasons, mainly the availability of data and the same regulatory framework. We discovered that those initiatives have different business model, run with different business model, but they differ mostly regarding 5 elements: value proposition, services provided, revenue stream, partnership management, and social value. We discover three business model archetypes. They are similar to what presented today. So briefly, the facilitation model, which provide like support mainly at the orientation phase by reducing the information gap and increasing the shared awareness. The coordination model, which follow customer along the whole renovation journey, and he operates as a coordinator and project manager and provide quality guarantee to the renovation projects. And later, the development model, which also follow customer along the whole renovation journey, but also offer integrated and tailor-made solution and also financial products. Within those business model, we discover also subcategories which can mostly identify differences between the different archetypes. This analysis was useful because not all there is not a model which fit any condition in terms of market maturity, regulatory system, or partners' ambition, and so on. So we try to understand which benefits comes from each model, each business model archetypes. Here I show you our analysis outcomes in terms of capacity to overcome barriers. We know, as the previous speakers, that home renovation is either by different barriers, like institutional barriers, economic barriers, social barriers, and market barriers. The one-stop shop business model archetypes can differently overcome those barriers. For instance, the facilitation model is capable of overcome mostly institutional and social barriers instead of the coordination model that is more useful to overcome social and market barriers, because as I said before, it operates as a coordinator of different stakeholders operating in an area. Development model is more capable of overcoming economic barriers because it offers not only cost and services, but also financial schemes like APC or multi-dimensional performance contracts and financial support to homeowners. Here I will present a sort of roadmap that we follow to develop a suitable business model for each target areas within the project. I introduce you the Padova study case because it's the first one that will be launched in December. For this case study, we organized different focus group with the target stakeholders like professionals, designer, architects, and so on, with companies providing renovation works, and with owner association and building administrators association. We present during the focus groups the archetypes, the business model archetypes, and we collect information about the feasibility of each archetypes and eventually some resistance and some difficulties in developing each one of those archetypes. Then we organize a co-design workshop. We organize it on Miro platform, that is a collaborative platform due to the COVID restriction, and we ask partners and some select stakeholders, local stakeholders to fill out a business model canvas in order to define the most suitable business model for the one-stop shop in Padova. Here is the model that the blackboard that we use to fill out the canvas in order to avoid losing time or produce some unusual, useful outcome. We provide like a guide to the workshop, and we asked to move post-it regarding the proposal elements in blue that provide information from the archetypes that we already presented to them. But also we ask them to provide available existing elements like already financial funds or already or available stakeholders to involve, or also critical elements like problem that they can find in their target area that can obstacle the development of the OSS. Here is the outcome of the co-design workshop. As you can see, different elements are put in each business model canvas block, and from that we define the business model of Padova one-stop shop. The business model is in between of a facilitation model and a coordination model. This is because a pure coordination model was not suitable in the Padova area, because during the focus group we discovered a strong resistance from professionals that already provide some consulting services like building diagnostics or building audit, energy audit, and this could create some difficulties for the OSS. Also because we decide for the one-stop shop in Padova, public-private partnership, where the main funder will be the municipality of Padova, that is a public authority. So we didn't want to create difficulties in approaching the renovation chain operators. So the one-stop shop in Padova will be created by 3 main partners, 2 private, 1 public, and 2 organizations that will provide consulting services in terms of dissemination and replicability. There are 2 levels of beneficiaries, citizen, building owners, building administration, professional and trade association within the area, and other local authorities in Italy that want to replicate the model in their target area and want to be guided in this process. The replication model will consent us to develop a web platform where other municipalities or other interested stakeholders can first access all information regarding different type of business model and which type better fits their needs in terms of market maturity, in terms of partners, in terms of ambitions, in terms of capacity to provide services. Then we also provide them consulting services in terms of business modeling, citizen engagement services, stakeholder engagement service, and so on, replicating what we did for the Padova one-stop shop. Now we are developing the feasibility study, looking at different type of feasibility of the business model we developed in terms of customer base, in terms of financial feasibility, in terms of legal feasibility, and so on, in order to provide a business plan oriented to 2030. Then we will develop a web platform that will be free at the starting point, and then we will adopt a freemium model like what was provided in the previous experience. I'm almost done. I just want to stress the idea that not all business model can fit all situations, and that a strong participatory process and a strong communication with local stakeholders and local citizens is a key to develop a suitable business model and a suitable one-stop shop, because a top-down approach is not the correct approach to provide an efficient and operative one-stop shop in different contexts. Thank you. I want just to remind you that we recently published a paper regarding one-stop shop business model on Journal of Cleaner Production. So if you are more interested in business model and subcategories, I invite you to download the scientific publication. Is available and it's free, so feel free to download it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna Maria. That was a good first presentation for this second session. Of course, if you have questions, please use the Q&A. I would not wait any longer and would like to introduce Karine Bédard, Director at the Paris Climate Agency. Karine, the floor is yours. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Can I share my screen now?
Yes, you should be able to share your screen with the green button.
Yeah, just 1 second. I'm trying to find, okay, the presentation, that's it. Partager. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I will put it in full screen now. Okay, just right. Okay, so thank you very much for this opportunity to give a couple of words about the Paris Climate Agency. So this agency was created exactly, 10 years ago, and it's got 5 founding members, out of which the Paris city and also the metropolis of the Greater Paris. And so we have now a public-private financing that's about 70% on the public side, and also about 50 members that co-finance us that are private companies. We are a team of 35, and there's a bit around 20 people working on the renovation subjects. And there's a growing part of the agency that's dedicated to data-related activities. So what triggered the setting up of this Paris Climate Agency was the first climate plan that was unanimously adopted by the city of Paris in 2007, and then what was updated in 2012. And they had very, very strong ambitions for the building renovation. And so the target for the Paris Climate Plan is that 100% of all buildings will be renovated by 2050. That means renovating around 1 million of housing units to reach the average of low energy building. And this is all backed by a strong political support, and that's why the agency was created as a governance tool to implement this plan. And it's an association, and so it enables flexibility and an action capacity as a platform for this specific ecosystem. So I will not go so much into detail, but I would say that overall the agency was designed as a one-stop shop to welcome, inform, and accompany the Parisians in the energy efficiency and also adaptation to climate change subjects. And we work also to become a pool of expertise and a project catalyzer with the local players in Paris. So we have two main missions. One is to be independent, neutral, and free of charge info desk and consulting resource for Parisians, and especially for the condominiums and homeowners, and we'll speak about that later. And there's another mission, which is to provide surveys and create networking opportunities, lead operational projects to mobilize the stakeholders on the climate subject in Paris. And now we have new activities in the agency around waste reduction, around mobilities, quality of air, or adaptation to climate change. So what is the support that we provide for energy retrofit in condominiums? Just a few figures. So there are about 2 million inhabitants in Paris and 7.5 in the metropolis of the Greater Paris. 43,000 condominiums in Paris, and that's about half of the condominiums of the whole metropolis of the Greater Paris. So it's a highly dense city, as you know, approximately 1 million housing units, and 47% of these are owner occupants. So the average of apartments per condominium is around 19. And if you consider the global picture of Paris, 80% of the housing units are in condominiums and 20% is social housing. We do not have so many activities around that, although we share our best practices with the social housing players in Paris. So there is a huge potential of business. So the market is around 40 billion euros. We have estimated that for the renovation of the whole housing and I would say overall the whole buildings in Paris. And we have a key mission to foster the actions of the different stakeholders on the question, not only of the market, but also the competencies to implement that renovation. So this retrofitting of condominiums is a major challenge for the climate. 80% of the private housing is condominiums today, so there is no way you would speak about individual housing in Paris. It's not even 3 or 4% of the whole market or the whole buildings. So just few figures about the stakes. 80% of the territory's energy consumption is linked to the residential and tertiary sectors in Paris. So although we speak a lot about transportation, for instance, if you consider really where the impact is, it's on the buildings. And around 70% of greenhouse gases emissions are related to the buildings in Paris. So like I said, 100% of the existing stock has to be renovated and to the bioclimatic standards. So whenever possible, it has to be on passive heating and cooling, especially when we speak about construction, of course. In Paris, so there are various targets that are very ambitious and that we really work in direction towards these targets. So the housing energy consumption should be reduced by a third by 2030 and by half in 2050. We are working a lot on the target of zero oil central heating by 2030, and also 100% of new buildings have to be low on carbon and energy positive by 2030. So when we consider those figures, we understand that the challenge for retrofitting is really huge. Today, renovations are a few hundreds. They should be counted in few thousands if we want to reach the targets of the Paris Climate Plan. So today, our goal is really to massify as much as possible. And the decision-making process that was also a bit evoked today, the decision process in condominiums is very complex. It goes through the votes by a general assembly. So it's like the smallest local democracy at the level of the society is actually the one around the homeowners and the general assemblies. So, and I would like to also mention that overall, the average time span for renovation per project in condominiums in Paris is about 5 years. So that means that before a long time, there is no market. We are working actually to create this potential market and the opportunity to renovate the buildings. But there's a long time before anything is actually decided by the homeowners. And so there's a great need for neutral support and great expertise. This is highly time-consuming consulting. And to be honest, I don't see what structure could provide this kind of long time consulting without the market, prior to the market creation by anything else than a public or public-private structure, because there is no market for a few years, and that's not, there is no interest, that there is no business interest for the agency also in the projects, and that provides neutral, independent, and free of charge advices for the Parisians and for the homeowners. So there is a huge challenge to document the renovation, to convince by showing such successful projects, and to connect to the right networks. So this is the reason why we have created Corporal platform in 2013. There was a need for a robust and sophisticated tool, and this tool, the Corporal, was created by the EPC. It has 4 main functions. It's a resource center for homeowners and associations. It's a personalized monitoring for projects. It's also a CRM for the councillors of the local climate energy agencies like the Paris Climate Agency. And it's also an online tool to draw up a eco-balance sheet, to create mailing lists for service monitoring, and to simulate financial support. Today, the Corporal tool is used by 25 metropolises in France, and the business model is a license fee for each agency. And the Paris Climate Agency provides services to design local versions of this Corporal. And that's why it's so widely used. And today, about 70% of the French condominiums are on a territory that's covered by Corporal. We have a network of 300 renovation professionals that we've been qualifying over years with the collaboration on the renovation projects themselves. We have high qualification of these renovation professionals, and also there is a strategic role for us to develop the sector and to foster the development of this sector. So there's a question of competencies availability, which is really crucial. And we organize a lot of events, 150 events every year, to accompany not only the Parisians and the homeowners, but all the players in the, not only the urban renovation, but also on the climate subjects in Paris. And we have now a project to identify the missing competencies and to work with the right training, I would say, structures for students and professionals to upgrade their competencies on the subject. So what are the key success indicators of the Corporal platform? Today we have about almost 250 housing units that are registered in the Corporal. We have fostered the creation of 247 million euros of services and projects over time. Approximately 35 expert advisors are working both in the Paris Climate Agency and also in other metropolitan local climate agencies. And this is something that cannot be industrialized. So when you want to facilitate urban renovation projects and housing renovation projects or building renovation projects, you have to take time, and that means people. And that's what these people are doing. And they are working on the very long run. So like I said, 5 years average time for a condominium renovation project. So today the situation is we have about 15% of all condominiums in the Paris metropolis that are registered in the Code Corporal. And we have accompanied 95% of all renovation projects in the for the bigger condominiums. And 80% of condominiums in the Paris metropolitan area are in a territory that's covered by the Code Corporal tool. So it's a great achievement because we basically see and accompany every renovation project in Paris. And there is also a big support, a big levy, that's the renovation program of Paris, that's called Renovons Paris, and the second edition will be launched in 2020. And so rather quickly, just to give a few examples of what this Code Corporal platform is doing. So it's a good tool for trustees and property managers, especially when you have the hotline for the syndic, what we call syndic. We also have the possibility to book agency appointments and to monitor the meetings. We give project support, and this we have created tools and networking opportunities that are widely spread or attended, like seminars. We have built a lot of documentation also for the homeowners to find information on how to renovate the buildings and their housing units. Also, we have a directory of professionals. So like I said, about 300 of them in Paris, and that has to be very localized because these professionals, they are not big companies. They are usually small, medium-sized companies, and we know them. We've been qualifying them over time. And also there is one thing that's very important. If you want to massify renovation, you have to show what's working to convince the homeowners, and the condominiums representatives. And so that's the reason why we have mapped all these renovations that are successful or also registered. And we have a lot of documentation. And so the organization of the team also has been territorialized because it's much easier to foster new projects when you are really on the land. And that's important to work with the local representatives of the city of Paris as well. And the Code Corporal Observatory also allows very detailed information and statistics about the renovation, where the renovation is standing at a certain time. And this is very useful for the local authorities. It's useful for the professionals that work in this market, and also for the condominiums themselves, because they can find the renovation projects that were standing next door. This tool, Code Corporal, also allows us to target specific subjects. And for instance, we've launched a campaign to take the example to take away the oil heating in Paris by 2030. So we have identified all the condominiums that are heated with oil central heating. And so we are targeting them specifically and addressing them, for instance, with the support of the local mayors and so on. And also one other example with this Code Corporal and another tool that we've built, we have been able to identify the 4% of condominiums that represent half of the private parking lots with the highest potential for recharge of infrastructure of electric vehicles. And that's including not only information about the buildings, not only about the energy, but also about what the potential is and the social, I would say, the revenue that will enable us to forecast where it's relevant to have an action on this subject. So we have identified the 1,500 condominiums in question, and we have the contact to them, so we are able to launch specific targeted actions. And we also organize events that both unite the actors, the local players of the industry, and also the condominiums representatives. And because it's important to show what's working, we've created with the coach Corporal an award where we identify in the metropolis of the Greater Paris the most successful renovations, those that have the best impact in terms of energy reduction, consumption, and also with biosourced material and so on. And just to finish this presentation, I would say overall, there are a few, I would say, priorities for us. One is to identify the condominiums. We need to facilitate the access to the equipment and the professionals, and that's where Coach Corporal is standing. Also, we need to boost the network because we need to foster around this subject all the urban renovation companies and the professionals. And also the Coach Corporal is a fantastic tool to document the references of what's working and what's been renovated in Paris. And this is all registered there. And also we have a big development on public service around the energy data. So we are I would say, public service for energy data in the Paris Climate Plan. And for to finish this small talk, I just wanted to say that the plans for us for the future is to really, like I said, massify. We have to have more and more urban renovation projects. And at the condominiums, there is a great program, national program called SAR. So it gives us a lot of additional financing to target more and more projects and to foster them. And we've recruited 10 people recently to accompany this project because there has to be someone spending time on that. And also we want to capitalize on the privileged channel we have to condominiums approach to have a more holistic approach to other subjects like vegetalization of roof, facades, backyards, new mobilities, like I mentioned earlier. Also, we have a great diagnosis tools to make forecasts on urban heating infrastructure needs and potential for development. And we have projects also around the instrumentation, so the measure of impact of the renovation works before and after. And so also big developments on data management. And there's a new tool that we've designed that's called NRSIG. And this is a GIS that's been very powerful around the kind of buildings, so qualification of buildings of and energy of Paris. Today, we are really looking for new partners and in Europe, so we're very happy to talk to you. And Camilo Jimenez, who is also attendant today, and we'll be happy to answer your questions or to take contact with you if you are interested. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. This was a very good overview of the challenges as well in the Parisian region, and a good overview of what the Agence Parisienne du Climat is doing. So we've received quite a lot of questions actually already, but I would like to already jump to the last presentation of this session, which is the Remodel Project. And I actually presented 2 speakers, but I know another one should join as well with Régis, and I'm sorry if I forgot you in the introduction. But so we should have 3 speakers for this one. So I will let you share your slides.
Yeah, thank you, Margot. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, I will share my screen. Okay. Do you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. So, well, thank you very much. I'm Maria Sara Di Maggio. I work with Hagen Hunt as a coordinator of this project, Remodules, which aims at developing a retrofit market activation platform based on the capitalized results of deep renovation projects from the previous years. So we are not developing, let's say, new tools or new envelope kits, but we are really looking into gathering the wealth of knowledge already available. Today, we're going to introduce the team of Remodules, the project goals, and then how we are going to achieve such goals. And we introduce the terms of relapse local advisory boards, which is an important entity of our project, and how we foster engagement with local network stakeholders on different levels. And finally, we will show a demo of the Remodules platform, which is also one of the outcome of our project. So the team, we have 16 partners as part of the consortium, and it's a quite diversified team with business models experts, digital expertise, but also advisor on retrofit from renovation and social housing. And together we're going to, and we are already started about 1.5 years ago to target the 2050 decarbonization targets by looking at the supply and demand side barriers that are already occurring on the deep renovation, and how we can gather these solutions that have been developed in several European countries, but that are very sparse and not clustered, and how we can bring this together. So our project goal is really to create this holistic framework that is focused on the human being, the consumer-centered person at the core, and to support this process by looking at evidence-based performance. So how we're going to do that? We have a few ideas that are core of Remodules project, which is looking at modularity on 2 levels. The modular retrofits process. So we have segmented the retrofit process in all its stages and look at the tools that are effective to boost each phase of the retrofit process. So is this the multi-level approach? But also we recognize that there is not a one size fit for all, as we have also seen in other projects today. So we take into account the social, economical, climate-related aspects that come from each country that is part of this project, so each pilot country, and that will affect eventually the customization of the retrofit process according to the local scenario. So this is very key. And how we're going to do it is by looking by developing 3 levels of as we call it, realm. So the virtual realm is the digital realm, where the digital services are provided and that enhance the market uptake of the deep retrofit techniques already developed. Then we have the physical realm, which is the actual concrete local hub where this renovation advisory will happen. And then we have the people realm, because we've seen that they go together. We cannot have only a digital platform. We need to have the interaction with the advisor, with the expert. And the people realm is what we call the local advisory boards, where the interaction with the stakeholders happen at a local, regional, or national level. And the relapse are basically providing assistance, support, and advice on the specific needs of the various stakeholders. So we have 7 pilot markets where we are applying the Remodules project and strategies. So in each of these countries, we are looking at the built environment structure, the supply chain organization of deep renovation techniques, but also what are the trends, the mainstream solutions in use, what is the maturity of the deep renovation techniques in each country, which we've seen is really may differ from country to country. As per Netherlands and Spain, we have totally different envelope kits that are available in the market, but also we have different demands questions. So we already started defining this baseline for the demand and supply aspect in each pilot market by looking first of all at, for instance, the amount of dwellings in each pilot that require renovation, and in each of these markets we are looking at how the different retrofitting process do exist and coexist, and what are the similarities with each country. So we're really looking at clustering teams across the different retrofit markets in terms of innovation needs, in terms of products that are useful for the renovation, but also the stakeholders' challenges, and trying to get to an overall framework overview. Then we have the relapse. The relapse is really the, let's say, active part of this framework where the local stakeholders are engaged. So the main idea of Remodules is not to build up a parallel a network to what is already existing in the countries, because we're aware that in each pilot country there are already wealth of initiatives going on and a wealth of entities that are already quite established, and so we are linking to them rather than building a parallel bubble for retrofit. So this is, I think, within Remodules really our strength, that we are connecting with established entities. Like, for instance, in the Netherlands we have energy corners, and we're bringing together the queries and the challenges that they have, and using the platform that we are developing to solve some of these gaps and challenges. How we interact with the local stakeholders and how we build this network is also through the digital platforms. So we have the Relab page for each pilot market, where we show who are the partners, who is already active in each pilot market, and what are the solutions according to the customer journey stages of the retrofit process. And you can also see here, you can see the regional hub, the partner overview, and what are the activities happening in each Relab. So this is what is going on at the moment, that will build up on the final rehab, as we call it, physical entity that will last after the Remodules project completion. And as mentioned before, each market has its local challenges, and there is not a one solution and one retrofit process that is common to all. So we are developing local deployment plan that adapt to each pilot market. And we do that by widening the network of stakeholders in each pilot, monitoring the contacts of the Relab, collecting feedback from them, and also looking at what are the tools already available in each local market, and what are the additional tools that the Horizon 2020 Deep Renovation Project can add to the existing knowledge. And now I want to give the word to Regis to dive in on the French Relab for this slide.
Thank you very much, Maria. And so indeed, I'm Regis Decorme from R2M Solution. I'm a colleague of Rachel, who was presenting earlier in this session for Turnkey Retrofit. And indeed, it's interesting because at R2M, we are involved both in Turnkey Retrofit, which is a project which is closing at the moment, and Remodules as well. We are a partner, so we are really here to, let's say, make a gap between the two projects, because indeed Maria mentioned in Remodules we really want to capitalize on findings from previous projects. So indeed, that includes, of course, Turnkey Retrofit. And there, indeed, we want to make a quick focus on the French Relab. So this is this local advisory board that we animate at R2M together with our colleagues from Dowell Innovation, which is also a partner of Remodelis. Basically to show you the diversity of the members that we have involved in this Relab for France, because we have really an excellent coverage of the whole renovation ecosystem and value chain, as you can see, with representatives from both the supply side, with industrial players, SMEs who are providing renovation services. We have also the demand side represented with the building owners. We have institutional partners. Typically, we have as you can see, the Plan Bâtiment Durable, which is the main French initiative around building renovation. And also we have the institutional side. So we have members who are providing, funding to support the actual refurbishments. So this is really, again, a very interesting mix. And on this slide, you can see that we highlighted 3 of our members are also partners in Turnkey Retrofit again. So you've got CSTB and the coordinator of Turnkey, as well as Operen and EP, and you heard earlier about their services. So again, this is a wonderful group that we have with us on Remodelis. They are providing excellent inputs to guide the project. And we are also here, of course, to promote what they do, what they offer, and that will be done in the next phases of Remodelis. And simply to mention that this group, as you can see, we have 13 members, but it's actually open. So if there are additional French players who want to join, we really welcome them to discuss with them. And again, we have a similar structure in the other pilot countries of Remodelis. So it's really interesting.
Okay, thank you very much, Regis. Now we can move on with the demo and the explanation of the platform. So I give the word to Ana Sanchez, our colleague from Remodules. Do you want to share your slides, Ana, or shall I keep sharing?
I think I have just shared my screen.
Okay.
So yes, we will continue from here, just in the last step of the Remodules, let's say, concepts, and we will focus now on this virtual realm, which is the market activation platform per se, which we can see as trying to solve or to build this Tetris of the different, many of them, tools and initiatives that are dealing with the renovation of the residential building stock in the European Union. And as we have seen in many of these conferences and presentations and events, there's a lot of tools already available, which function in different countries, on different typologies, are focused on different user profiles, or they are covering maybe the whole customer journey, but maybe only 1 or 2 steps of this customer journey. So this is more or less what we want to do here. This Remodules Digital Hub as an application for customizing this customer journey according to the different options. And all the study that we are doing in all the available and existing tools is not just for learning from them, but to directly use them and capitalize them and make the value of them and show them to the users. So what we want to do within our platform is to customize your journey, or let you explore the different tools, the more highlighted tools that could fit into your interests. So by selecting very few things about your interests, we will give you your best fitted tools. But maybe, well, for example, if we are in France, we could show here perfectly the Turnkey Retrofit project that we have just done, because it fits perfectly with the idea of this aggregation platform. But maybe you don't know yet what are your exact interests, and you just want to explore then you can go for this second part, which is this starting application, where you can get a very first pre-diagnosis of your building and see which are your options for renovation. The idea, the concept is that you just click on your building, so we are able to give you a typology, go into our database, and then give you some description with an assessment of your current state, and then some options for renovation. How can we do this? Well, we have, as we are a capitalization project, we are always based in existing projects. So we have started with the Tabula project, which, as we all know, doesn't always fit with all the countries, all the regions, or all the situations. But the idea is to start from this, and then next steps is customizing, personalizing the outcomes of those data, but all of them having the same structure. So what we can see here is a video demo of how, more or less, how is it working for these first steps of this first approach, first diagnosis. You have a map, you can navigate the map as you want, and then you can click and get some information. We are trying to use any official web service that can give us official information of your building. For example, this is Spain, and here we have the cadastral data, which can give us the use and the year and the area. So we can go and have all what happened. Sorry. We go, we get the information. I don't want to do it again. Yes, we have a residential building, and here we have different data that we got automatically from the description that we get. Is this a single family home? These are the different components of the building, the floor, the roof, the walls, the windows. I just need to select the system types because this is very difficult to automatize. But then I select the combination, and then I get all the information with the current state and the different options for renovation. We have a summary of the components and systems, but then the most interesting is that energy efficiency in the current state and then in the different options. The increase, the decrease, the improvement in energy demand, in final energy consumed, in the CO2 emissions, and the primary energy consumed, the share of a renewable energy source, and then finally the energy cost. This is to be done in the different countries that belong to the project. For example, if we go to Paris, we will try to use the services that we have here in France. In this case, we don't have the cadastral, so we just need to ask to the user to give us the year and to select which image fits best with the building that you are trying to study. Then we propose you some kind of doors, floors, roofs, walls, and windows, and we let you select between two kinds of systems, and then again, we give you your current status and then two renovation options from standard to a more deep renovation. And for the moment, this is where we are. The idea is that once you have this first diagnosis, you can go and advance into the different modules, components, tools that are available for your building and that can be useful for help you design your renovation. So this is what I wanted to share with you, and maybe just for closing, some lessons learned from the work that we have been doing until now, because this project still has some way to run. But the main conclusion, the main lesson learned is, as you all know, is that all the different pilot regions or the countries have different levels of administrative boundaries, have different areas and density of buildings, different populations, number of buildings, typologies of buildings, even though in all of them we have seen that investments in renovation are increasing, The kind of renovation works more or less include the same kind of solutions, insulation, heating, new systems for heating, and solar panels. These are mostly in all of the pilot countries. And then also there's always a big concern in all of them we have found about energy poverty issues. So even with these common things, the differences are maybe bigger. So the path that we are working is that we are working in a pilot focused way. We are trying to individuate, specialize, and then see, okay, in each of the pilots, which is the main demand stock, which is the main actor, which are our local heroes, and which are the main entry points to tackle the market constraints. And for the moment, this is where we are. I'm going to close here the presentation so we have some time for the discussion, because I think we are a little late on the 7. So thank you for your attention, and I'm stopping my sharing here.
Thank you, Anna. Thanks. I think that was a very comprehensive presentation of the Remodel project, and I think we learned a lot from this project with these 3 different presentations. I would actually go straight to the panel discussion if that's fine for everyone. We're running a bit out of time, but we do still have time for questions. So I would welcome my colleagues. Maha will actually moderate the discussion.
Yes, thank you, Margot. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's 3rd session of the Turnkey Retrofit Final Conference, which focuses on scaling up renovation in Europe via home renovation one-stop shops. As Margot had mentioned, my name is Mara Oprah, and I will be moderating this session on behalf of the PadovaFIT Expanded Project. For the next 40 minutes, we will be engaging in a policy discussion with all of the panelists present. However, while we wait for more participants to join us, I'd like to frame today's topic of discussion. So the European Union has set an objective of climate neutrality by 2050, with the intermediate target of cutting its greenhouse gas emissions in half compared to 1990 levels by 2030. As stated in the Renovation Wave initiative of the European Green Deal, this objective requires an additional investment of €90 billion every year in building renovation until 2050. For the renovation sector, this means that we must at least double the current rate of renovation while significantly increasing the share of retrofits in homes and multifamily buildings. Although technical solutions for decreasing the emissions related to the residential sector are available, intervention remains very complex due to the actors that are responsible for engaging in home renovations. The decision to proceed with energy renovations is most often left to homeowners or renters who are usually insufficiently informed about energy efficiency and net zero living, or they just lack the time to manage energy renovation projects. In order to upscale home energy renovation, public policies usually focus on boosting demand through awareness raising, mandatory requirements, or by providing public subsidies and low interest loans. However, given the lack of capacity of homeowners to cope with the complexity of energy renovation, these home retrofits can only be upscaled if appropriate services are put in place on the supply side in order to decrease the burden of renovation on homeowners. Throughout this session, we will be exploring the policies and movements needed to provide a coordinated and coherent response to the needs of homeowners who could benefit from increased comfort in the home, to cities and regions who are trying to achieve their climate goals, and to all other stakeholders interested in furthering the EU's climate neutrality goals via home renovation one-stop shops. Joining me today are 7 industry experts who you have heard from in the past presentations already. These are Ana Maria Bajani, Karine Bidar, Maria Sara Di Maggio, Ana Sanchez Huertas, Rachel De Marie, Regis Decorm, and Madeleine Debbie. Thank you all for joining us, and we're really glad to have you here today. If you could just turn on your cameras, that would be great so we can interact with one another. I will begin the session by asking the entire group a couple of questions to get the discussion going. And in the meantime, we encourage our audience to actively ask questions and participate in the chat. If you have any questions for our experts, please send them to us via the chat function while making sure to note who your question is for. Right, so to begin, I'd like to address the renovation wave, which has been quite a popular strategy in the industry over the last year. This question is open to all of our experts, so I'd like to know which regulatory or policy challenges you think should be addressed first in order to advance the renovation wave. Maybe we can start with Anna. Would you like to begin? Open the policy discussion, Ana Sanchez.
Yes, for example, from our experience, and I'm talking mostly focusing on Spain because it's the market that I know better. And I think that the main barrier that has to be like attacked by regulatory or policy challenge policies is the trust. We need to have these trust frameworks, maybe such as this one-stop shop concept that we have been seeing during the session. The one that it's been explained by this Turnkey Project, the one for Save the Homes. I'm not sure if it will work for all the countries in the way that we focus in Spain, but I think it's important that they are like backed up or validated by the public sector, because this makes the citizens this sense of transparency, maybe independency, you know. But I know that maybe in other countries this is not the case. It's more trustful, the private sector. So this is something that we really need to explore. For example, in Spain, in order to try to build and anchor this trust by the public sector, is this figure of the renovation agent or manager that has been explained before this morning, who is being like validated by the administration. So then you want to get your turnkey project by one agent, and they will be managing everything. And maybe you are more trustful if you know that they are validated by this public body behind. This is one thing. Another thing that I think that can be tackled by regulatory or policy changes is the bureaucracy. In this moment in Spain, if you want, you convince a lot, you try to convince people to renovate. Okay, now I have a lot of people wanting to renovate. Then, oh, I have to ask for a permit, I have to ask for another whatever, and then you are there waiting for your permits for months, even for years in some municipalities. So this is something that is also trying to be tackled. And for example, if I'm not mistaken, at least in the Valencia region, we are changing this kind of renovation permits. If it's for energy efficiency and you are trying to apply for the renovation funds, it's just enough a responsible statement. You say to the municipality, okay, I'm going to comply with all the rules and I'm starting now. Now, if you want to do something, you can come and ask and everything, but I'm starting. So, for example, this could be the way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, without gaining the trust of homeowners or renters or homeowner organizations, there's really no way to move on the front of renovations. And administrative barriers are one of the main barriers listed by homeowners as to, as reasons as to why they don't move forward. There are multiple reasons, which I'm hoping we can discuss within the session, but it would also be nice to get a view of maybe the opinion of some of our French colleagues, since we have your opinion, Anna, maybe Regis or Karine.
Regis, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, all right. Thank you very much, Mara, for the opportunity. Well, from the perspective of the French market, so indeed you saw we've got this relab with several French players, and in terms of the barriers which have been identified, I would say it's quite similar to what I explained for Spain. There's a lot of complexity for homeowners when they are facing the renovation project, and typically the need to contact so many actors. Also to dig into the landscape, I would say, of incentives, which is sometimes not so complex if you take them one by one, but just to identify the ones which will apply to your own specific project. And so that's why I think really all the initiatives which are presented today, they are going in the right direction to really simplify all this, to centralize the information and make it indeed trustable for the end users.
Yes, thank you. Actually, what I find interesting and important is that alongside reducing emissions, the renovation wave is meant to enhance the quality of life for people living in and using old buildings, and buildings that are energy efficient primarily, and also has a scope of creating many green jobs in the construction sector. This means that the strategy will not only have environmental impacts, but can also have positive effects on public health and the economy. So if anyone else would like to comment on the renovation wave, please feel free. But I think it's good to also say that the renovation wave is similar to home renovation one-stop shop services, seeing as they aren't singularly focused on environmental benefits of energy efficiency renovations, but also the one-stop shops also have a strong social focus on supporting vulnerable groups and alleviating energy poverty. So can anyone speak on the social benefits of renovation and how one-stop shops can help vulnerable populations? Ana Maria, maybe you'd like to start? Or Karin, I see your mic is, yeah. Okay, Ana Maria?
Yeah, I would like also add some insight to the previous question, because in Italy we have a totally different situation, because as you know, we have the super bonus, 110% of paid by the government, that is within the recovery plan of Italy, and this allow all type of buildings to get the upfront cost to the renovation works. And so I think that the most barrier in Italy now is the quality guarantee. And this can be only overcome by APC, so energy performance contracts, or other quality guarantee schemes that can overcome the distrust of people. And also we have a strong heritage limitation, because almost all our cities are historical cities. So it's hard with only platform tool. We want to develop a digital platform with different type of buildings and different type of cost and energy savings that you can reach by renovation, blah, blah. But I think it's more about information gap. When you can overcome information gap, that is also the answer of your question, you can increase awareness of citizens, not only regarding the will to start a renovation project, but also for the long-term life of building. Because even if you have a high performance building, you should know how to use it, and you can perform a sustainable behavior in the long-term life of your building and your interaction with the building. Another especially interesting topic in social impact regards the energy poverty, of course. We are opening a collaboration with another public authority that administrate public buildings, for example, residential public buildings, because those are incredibly huge and administrated by a unique public entity, and the social impact of those renovation project is higher than normal market renovation project because of the scale and because of the impact on the social dimension, because you reduce the energy bill, the cost of maintenance. You can provide also energy communities and other type of engagement process to engage the people living there and provide different type of services. Also within the recovery plan that give a huge amount of money in this topic, in this field, we should considering renovation of building stock within urban regeneration. Because when we want to reach high social impact, we should think not at this building scale, but at the district scale. So I think this is my answer, I hope.
Thank you. Would anyone like to add on? In the meantime, while you think of your responses, if you have any, I want to say that I completely agree with your points, and it's especially given the rising prices of energy, this topic is more important than ever to address. As many citizens of the EU are facing hardships resulting from increasing costs of fuels and electricity. This can lead to arrears on bills, and therefore these populations face increased risks of health problems as well as social exclusion. So it's not just about energy efficiency. If you actually look at the numbers from the EU Building Observatory, there is an increasing trend of excess winter mortality in colder member states. And this could change if this topic of energy poverty becomes a priority and a focus of the industry. So another question I have for everyone is, what specific role do you think energy efficient building renovations can play in promoting a green recovery and achieving the 2030 and 2050 climate targets? Karine, maybe you'd like to start?
Yes, well, I will be short because I think I mentioned that already in the presentation, but in a very dense city like Paris or other big cities in Europe, I would say the energy consumption represents, well, it's 50%. In a big city like Paris, the energy consumption is 50% related, or more than 50% related to the residential and tertiary buildings. So, I mean, the figure is there. And when you consider it's about 70% of greenhouse gases emissions, then you have to consider that. If you want to reach the targets of the climate plans, I would say in Paris, at least, that's the first issue you have to address when really you want to have an impact. And also there's another point I would like to mention. There are a lot of projects around the cooling of the city, and I would say it's not only about public space, it's also very much about what's going on in the buildings. And then we come back to this previous subject about energy poverty as well, because there is not only a problem of heating in the wintertime, it's also the matter of cooling the apartments in the summertime, and it's really a big subject. And I would say, coming back to your previous subject, it's at the crossroads of various expertises, because we, for instance, as energy and climate agency, we are not specialists to address the question of poverty. Although we visit the condominiums, for instance, we need to group our expertise with those of the social workers in the city of Paris, for instance, and the associations and so on. So it's just to say that there is a great role, and that's what we will be piloting for the coming year, for instance, to coordinate what is doing, who is doing what on these subjects. So it's just, I wanted to add that.
Yeah, of course. And I think the importance of one-stop shops is that they do act as this coordinator between all of the organizations, making the renovation process easier for homeowners who really wouldn't know where to begin. So if anyone else would like to add on, please go ahead. Otherwise, we do have questions from the audience. So they are a mix of policy and technical questions. So the first one we have is directed to Maria. Excuse me. So the question is, how do you choose which organizations to work with, and what are the challenges of connecting and networking with local partners?
Yes, very good question, because indeed, I think this is related to the local advisory boards entities that we are building up on the different pilot markets. And how we choose it is really by looking at the network that is already there. So for instance, in the Netherlands, who is involved in the energy renovation are the energy corners, and then we have manufacturers, we have all the different stakeholders of the supply chain. So we try to get a good mix that can cover the whole retrofit process, so that we can advise on the different stages along the customer journey through retrofit process. So it's really open to experts and advisor in the retrofit process. So from technical expertise to more social housing advisor, fuel poverty advisor, and so on. And what we have seen, for instance, in the Netherlands, is that the focus of the energy renovation is really on components level. So the questions rise on whether the private owner needs to upgrade the roof of the HVAC system or part of the facade, but it's not a holistic process. It doesn't take into account all the effects that comes by doing one upgrade at a time. So what we're trying to do is really also to bring the topic of having a fair benchmarking system, whereby the different retrofit scenarios, whether it's a deep renovation or a surface light renovation process, when applied, what is the impact also not only on energy efficiency, but also like co-benefits, so comfort or environmental impact, and having these indicators along with the, let's say, traditional indicator of energy can make the case stronger for the renovation wave. Because indeed, if you look at the cost or the simple energy efficiency, the certain solutions are more attractive. Whether if we look at the whole impact that's happen on the whole value chain of the deep renovation, then we can really push and attract more demand for the renovation.
Indeed, thank you. So we have another question from the audience, and this one is for Ana Maria. So is the platform planned for PadovaFIT, is it a regional-wide platform, or is it specific to certain cities? Can you just speak more on that?
At this stage of the project, the one-stop shop services are only for the Padova municipality in terms of two types of customer segments, like building owners and suppliers, professionals and companies and so on. But in a second stage, we will open a second platform for other municipalities and public stakeholders in Italy. We are ready. Try to develop a national board to ask other municipalities interested in developing, implementing sort of one-stop shop to join us in order to provide a unique references of what one-stop shop is, avoiding general definition like in a taxonomy for one-stop shop, also for rich public and European funds easily. And because there is still incomprehension between, misunderstanding between one-stop shop and ESCO companies, because they are different, because the shared value they generate are different. So it's very useful provide a unique definition, of course, with different business model, different services provide, okay, of course. And then we will provide to other municipalities like a consulting service, maybe for free or maybe under a fee. We still don't know because it's a second step process, in order to provide a roadmap to how to implement a one-stop shop and provide them all information regarding the feasibility study, for example, or how to develop a business model and so on. But I think that it will be provided only in Italy because we have a high regulation system. So it is easier for us to provide consulting services for Italian partners and municipalities. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. And we're nearing the end of the session, so we'll have a couple more questions. The next one is for Karin, and this is about Coach Co-Pro. Do homeowners get a warranty on the works that they do, and who is responsible if something goes wrong on a retrofit job?
Okay, so do they get a guarantee? I mean, I would say that all the professionals that we work with have certificates. I would say the local and regional and national, certificates of quality, and of course, and that's a must that they have to have. And also, who's responsible? Well, I would say our responsibility is not engaged. Fortunately, this has not happened so many times, but we are here to work together with the condominiums and representatives and the homeowners, to help them identify the right professionals, and then to also we have a very critical input to help them read all the propositions that are made to them. So we really work upwards to the projects to make sure that they are being proposed the right kind of works. So the legal responsibility of the agency is not engaged, but I mean, since we are working for 4 or 5 years with the homeowners, of course, we are really close to them to do everything to avoid these situations.
Okay, thank you. And now we have a question to Madeleine. Is the cost of works tool adaptable to other platforms? Madeleine, I hope you're with us. You have your video turned off. Ah, okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Great.
So yeah, about cost of works. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. About cost of works, so it's a brick that EP developed during the project Turnkey Retrofit, but it was work done before the project. And during the project, they tried to adapt it to the Irish and the Spanish context with the Spanish and Irish partners, the main work was to build the database, because it's a lot of information about how much, what is the cost of each renovation actions, and it's very specific to each country. So yeah, the big job was to build this database, and then now as EP is built this brick before the project. Now there are some commercial agreements that are in discussion between EP and other partners to really build the cost of work for the other national context.
Right, understood. Thank you. And now, as I said, we're nearing the end of the session. So I would like to address one question to all of our speakers. And excuse me, this question is, in your opinions and based on your experiences, should member states be focusing on the promotion of surface level renovations to a large number of households, or deep renovations to households and buildings that are most in need of energy renovations, such as those with the lowest ranked energy classes? And Is it even possible for building renovations to comply with long-term climate goals in the absence of deep renovations? Maria, maybe you'd like to start?
Yes. Well, indeed, is important to address both of these type of renovation, but it really depends on the maturity in each country of the standardized and industrialized retrofit system in place, and the kits, the envelope kits that are available, if they're already marketable, if they are at market cost. So, for instance, in the Netherlands, the industrialized existing building blocks are very much spread because of the post-war reconstruction. So it really fits well with the type of geometry and the type of style and building stock already existing. So deep renovation here can make the most impact. But in some other countries, the type of building stock is different. Maybe the geometry is not so easy to adapt to the standardized system. So their alternatives needs to be assessed specifically with, for instance, historical or monumental values buildings. So it really depends on the let's say the geometry type of, and the fact that, for instance, there are also legal requirements for facade thickness to be maintained and within a certain standard. So in some countries you cannot implement too much of envelope renovation, so you are constrained to a smaller let's say your smaller building renovation strategies. But the supply side, so in terms of kits development, there is really a wide range of options nowadays, and it's about having these products certified, having the trust in the innovation, and making sure that they're communicated early in the process, so that both deep renovation of surface level assessment can be taken care of. So it's really an early decision moment that needs to be happened with the architects, with the homeowner, or with the other stakeholders of the supply chain.
Indeed. Thank you for that contribution. If anyone would like to add on, please go ahead. No? Okay, well, then seeing as we are ending the session soon, I'd like to thank all of our speakers for the contributions and the answers to our audience's questions, as well as to the audience for attending and engaging with our speakers, as it's been a very interesting discussion. We hope that by engaging in discussions with different stakeholders and experts, you've gained some useful information from this joint reflection on how the rollout of renovation advice and support services can drive decarbonization of the built environment and facilitate substantial increases in renovation uptake amongst Europe's residential sector. Thank you all once again for your participation, and I'd now like to pass the floor to Dominique Cacavelli, the coordinator of the Turnkey Retrofit Project, who will be giving his concluding remarks for today's event. Dominique?
Yes, do you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mara, for managing this discussion session. Just let me briefly introduce myself. I'm Dominique Cacavelli from CSTB in France, and I'm General Coordinator of the Turnkey Retrofit Project. And my job here now is to wrap up the main conclusion of this conference. But first of all, I would like to thank all the panelists for the quality of their presentation and for the diversity of the one-stop shop initiatives that were presented. A special thanks to Thibaut Roy from the Directorate General for Energy and Louise White from the European Investment Bank, who accepted to introduce this conference. I would like also to express my warmest thanks to Margot and Mara, who plays this difficult role of moderator perfectly. And finally, I would also like to thank all the Turnkey Retrofit project partners for their steadily involvement in the project and their support in setting up this conference. To conclude this conference, I would like to come back to the role of the one-stop shops in reaching a fully decarbonized building stock and how integrated renovation services for building will be impacted by the EU renovation wave strategy. You know that this renovation wave strategy proposes several solutions to increase the renovation rate of buildings in Europe, which is now dramatically low, around 1% per year, with the new objective of renovating 35 million building units by 2030 and of doubling the renovation rate within the next 10 years. So it's quite challenging. And I will try now to show how the European renovations wave strategy can make a difference. Oh, just a minute. Okay, so what are the main actions that are described in this renovation wave strategy that can make a difference? First, the revision of the Epbd directive will include provision on availability and accessibility of database and digital repositories for EPCs, and that is a very good source for one-stop shops. Second, there is a proposal to introduce mandatory minimum energy performance standards for all types of buildings in the Epbd, and this mandatory minimum energy performance standard will certainly increase the demand for integrated renovation services. Therefore, one-stop shops must be able to promise an improvement of the EPC rating following the renovation for work. Third, the new strategy is planning the revision of requirements on energy audits in the Energy Efficient Directive. A broadened requirements for audits could potentially be used by one-stop shops. Fourth, there is a proposal on building renovation passports and introduction of a single digital tool, unifying them with digital building logbooks. In short, the vision behind logbooks is to have one repository for all building-related data throughout the life cycle of the building, which could be linked to one-stop shops. Fifth, the new strategy is also considering the introduction of a deep renovation standard as part of the Epbd Revision, and this is very relevant for one-stop shop focusing on deep renovation projects. And finally, and this is for sure the most important statement in the renovation strategy, for one-stop shop services, the communication declares that the Commission will support setting up standardized one-stop shops that can be deployed quickly at national, regional, or local levels. And this is very important because EU projects such as Turnkey Retrofit, Modular, or PadovaFIT expanded contribute to explore how one-stop shop can be used to facilitate aggregation of renovation opportunities, how business models can be tailored to one-stop shop initiatives, how digitalized tools developed within these EU projects can be shared, and how to involve stakeholders in the one-stop shop implementations. That's all for my concluding remarks, and I would like first finally to thank all of you all for attending this conference dedicated to home renovation one-stop shops. Thank you all. Marco, do you want to give us some conclusions or words for the conclusion of this?
Yeah, I can give a few words. I can say a few words. So I just want to thank all the speakers for joining today and all the participants for your for submitting questions as well and for your interest in the topic. I'd like to remind you that the slides and the recording will be available on the Turnkey Retrofit website, and we will also send you a thank you email afterwards. And when you will leave this conference, there should be a short survey that will pop up on your screen, and we would be very grateful if you could answer this survey. It's useful for us to know how it went and how we can improve. So yes, thanks again and have a nice rest of the day. Goodbye.
Thank you, Margot. Thank you all.